is maturing in stewardship of our lives. We had a very big sermon on that, particularly in the financial aspect, but as John was pointing out, stewardship of our lives. It's of our lives, which is the stewardship, so our time, our finances, ourself. And, you know, for me, time is big. It's hard. I'm greedy when it comes to time. And so, I mean, learning to mature in that is, once again, just being able to live this out and growing older, because that's the natural process. And what's so funny is there's a lot of Christians that I heard one of my professors explain it as a stillborn. They hear the gospel of Christ, but they're like a stillborn in life. They're birthed, but they're dead spiritually still. And so this idea of being able to mature is this idea of growth. It's this idea of a movement that's going forward in the right direction, and is not talking particularly about perfection or coming to this level of I'm there, so therefore I can just kind of take it easy. But regardless of how that looks like, whatever levels of spiritual maturity may be, it's still that movement and process that's going forward, that's going closer and closer to Christ and His character. And of course, the last one, with all this, we come to see not only the brokenness in our life, but our hearts get broken for our world, our cities, our spheres of influence, our co-workers, our jobs, our schools. And so the idea is with that lostness that's out there, because that world system, people operate within values and within culture and within all these things that they even are unaware of it. And what's so funny is, I just remember talking to Tiffany about that this morning, is just that how a lot of people just grow up doing certain things because their friends are doing it, or because they think this is the way that life is. They think that saving your virginity to marriage is obsolete, or it's a way of the past, or it's this old crude thing. But that's just a specific example, but it's just how people make choices and they literally don't know what they're doing, because that's just the culture and they're surrounded by it. They can't live outside of their fishbowl. The water doesn't know the fish doesn't know he's in water until you take him out, type thing. So those are some of the values. And if you can turn to, there's a page there. I read a book that says that it is always good. There's a diagram there to have a picture of what the church should look like. This Focal Point ministry, the reason why we're doing that is trying to show the greater piece of the puzzle that Focal Point fits into Pacific Corner Church. And there's a lot of points there, and there's a lot of puns there, but that's what makes us unique. And so if you notice these different aspects there, if you're able to write these on there, there's certain areas of ministry that each of these fit into. And if you could notice, Dusty's going to write there on there, but Pacific Point, it explains our values within the Sunday sermon, and as we gather here as a congregation, as a community of believers, there's a lot of values that are explained, even now as we hear, what are certain things to value, embracing intimacy with God and living to tell our personal stories. We hear these things that are explained. But the thing is one thing, as I mentioned before, to hear them and to agree with them, but there needed to be some type of design or ministry or system that allow people to then live out these values, not live out these values, reinforce them, to keep people engaged in them. And so that's actually the puzzle, or the piece of the puzzle that Focal Point fits in right there in that diagram. And then of course from that movement, we see here in the World Point, or in the world, is that's the place where those values are literally carried out. So, we have all these ministries and they all serve a purpose. And to talk about Focal Point is not, we don't want to pull a ministry out of a hat, like to jazz things up or to liven things in our church. That's not the purpose. The purpose of this was really to have a movement, to create a movement within our church so people don't become stagnant in their faith, and it's only about Sunday mornings, but now they have this movement and this connection literally from our Sunday sermons and the blessings that we receive, the worship that we engage in, all the way to the World Point where we go and be the church, as John says. And so the Focal Point, literally, it's that second piece of the puzzle that makes that process more tangible or more easy, just from leaving our Sunday service and walking out that door and going into the World Point. So that, once again, we're not trying to just throw out another program. That's the last thing that we want to do. We're really wanting to make a ministry of as you guys were talking about here with Dusty, something that creates, that transforms lives and disciples people and heals hurts and equips people, all those things that we're trying to do that with this ministry. Am I on point? Oh, well, one of the things that we want to do, like I said, is not to have it all just us up here, but we want to have a breakout session. And one of the things that we want to do is just for us to discuss which of these values we already see in Pacific Point right now without launching into these focal points. What are some of these values that you already see happening? And if you see a lot happening, that's great, but we want to engage that more. And if some of us, we may say, oh, we don't see a lot of this happening. Well, that's some of the reasons why we're here, and we're trying to talk about that, and not just trying to hide it and say, well, we're not doing this or we're not doing that, but to really bring it out, especially for those that are wanting to facilitate and become leaders. So if I can make that clear, and I can make this personal too, what are some of the values that we see what are these values that we already see operating in our church as a whole, but even perhaps in our own lives, how we're at or where we're at, and to just kind of discuss that among ourselves. We'll give you about 5 to 10 minutes because we're really short on time. So.
Why don't we, just, you mind if I?
Oh, no.
So why don't we just real quick, just forward, just talk, tell us, respond back and say, this is what I see working in Pacific Point. This is what I see that's kind of lacking. And then just feedback, and we'll write these down. Just so there's a little more direction. Does that make sense? I know it's a little cloudy in my head. All right. Just basically, just give us feedback and say, okay, honestly, this is what I see. This is tangible. It's palpable. It's there. You come in the first couple weeks, you can see this. You hear it from the front, whatever. But these are things that are maybe lacking. And so, what hits your heart? What's good and bad? Pacific Point.
I would say one thing we feel into this church, at least I feel every time, is
This is good or bad?
it's good.
Okay, here.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. All right.
No, I think one thing I feel when I walk in, I think other people feel it too, is a sense of joyfulness. When families come together to celebrate, you feel that celebratory feeling of joyfulness and fun and genuine concern and love and kindness. You know what I mean? Just the stuff that when there's a little bit of excitement. When you're going to a big family celebration, everybody's going to be, how much fun it is. That's kind of how it feels when you walk in. You know what I mean? It's hard to define it, but it's like a family. It's like a family.
It's family. It's like a
So, in terms of the values, then what do you think? Which one do you definitely connect to? One embracing to see God.
And with others. I think that's that relational aspect of our church, that intimacy that we're trying to promote with God and with others. And it's palpable. You feel it. And it's something that's so missing, that sense of community we don't have in Orange County in general. We go in here, not in your neighborhoods, you know what I mean? But you feel it here.
That's awesome.
On the, it's not really bad.
Well, it's all right.
As a family, our family is good in country.
Right.
I think we started doing something that was so exciting, and then we just stopped. Dr. Gardner had us all take these tests to find what our strength was. Remember that was a year ago. I was so excited for that because I wanted to start, because I need accountability. I need a job. And it was beautiful because what it had said to me is that you're a research. Well, I am. I'm a total research nerd. And okay, great, this will be good. And then it just
That's
nothing
good.
happened.
That's huge.